the fan base is buying in. And it's because what's not to like? He plays hard.
Yes.
He hustles, and he's doing what it takes for his team to win.
The Orange Zone, sponsored by Billy Whitaker Cars and Trucks.
What's up? What's up? Welcome into the award-winning Orange Zone podcast. What's up from the Sky Cam? I'm Tommy Sladek. We have Samantha Croston. We have Super Bowl champion James Mungro, and we have Brendon Hodges on the producer mic. A reminder, you can find every episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you want to listen. Also, check out our YouTube page. New episodes release Wednesdays. We invite you to like, comment, subscribe, share, be a part of this. We've been getting great comments. Let's keep it going. And make sure to follow us on our all-new Instagram and TikTok page for more Orange Zone content. So the big one today, the big one this week, Syracuse football got a win. They actually won a game. We're breaking down that win over Pittsburgh. Can they have this run-heavy strategy? Can that succeed now that the element of surprise is gone? We get into trivia. We have game picks for Georgia Tech. We do a little bit of everything, and at the end, we got to talk about the two 5-5 teams in upstate New York because, oh my goodness, the Bills are 5-5. Sam, how you feeling? James, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good, and there's something that I want to get out of the way right off the top here because
Okay.
I do think that it's important sometimes to just
Elephant in the
say
room.
what the truth is. Elephant in the room.
Okay.
Brendon's the only one who got the prediction right from last week.
Yeah, let's give him his flowers.
How to say it.
Brendon, you're anything to say? This is your time.
Y'all should listen to your producer more. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, and here's the thing.
Eye roll
And he
emoji.
said about Valari,
Look,
too.
I went back.
He did.
So here's the thing. I went back
He
and
nailed
watched
it.
the tape because, as I mentioned last week, I was calling volleyball, so I wasn't able to watch the game. So really, I just had the box score and watched a little bit at the end when it was kind of over. Went back, watched the tape of us, not of the game. I will say this: I wasn't exactly right. I was the only one to pick Syracuse to win. Pat on the back for that. I said that both teams would combine for 50 rushing attempts. Thank you, Syracuse University. You blew that prediction out of the water on your own. And I did mention the Wildcat. And while you guys were right, they didn't have an entire offense based out of that. It was a significant portion of what they did at Yankee Stadium, which was really ironic considering it was celebrating 100 years of football at the stadium, and they
Yes.
went back 100 years for the playbook that they ran on Saturday.
Yeah, so nice job.
It worked. We got a W. This is the first one we got in November, and how long?
Oh, November. I mean, November, Dino Babers, historically, November is not a good month. But I will say, I think to me, the bigger part is that this is the first time we're talking about a win since literally September.
Yes.
Wow.
That's insane. And I mean, and guess what? It felt like it. It felt like the 5-6 weeks, whatever it was, to finally get here. So just to recap it, 28-13, the final score. The big story in this one is that it was very apparent from the first drive that Garrett Schrader, while he was back in and playing
And back flipping.
Yeah.
his throwing arm was not doing well. He had two throws. One of them happened to be a touchdown pass to Max Mang, which even that was a little bit fluttery. You could see him pulling at it. And from there, you really got the sense of, okay, this is going to be a team that is going to try to win with the run. Whether it's Garrett Schrader back there, LaQuinn Allen, or Dan Villari, those three were the three-headed monster.
1,000%. And I mean, moving forward, the thing that you said that sticks out to me the most is this idea of the element of surprise is gone.
Right.
And I think it's really cool, and I'm impressed by the fact that Schrader, despite the fact that he's hurt, is giving it his all, giving it a shot, trying to get his team to this bowl game. Because
Legs
I know
look great, by the way.
They
right?
still have their eyes on that. Absolutely. But the point does remain, now that the two remaining teams that are the regular season competition are watching this film, is there a way you can pull that off again twice, and how sustainable really is it? That's my question moving forward. Despite that, a really cool, unique game that I think most of this fan base will just never forget.
They play power football, and they beat up on Pittsburgh. Up front, I mean, I was watching the game, and they dominated like how we saw them dominate early on in the season, the first 6 games. I mean, they won, and let's be excited about that. They won. The team was also 2-7 though, as well.
Right.
But they got a W, and that's all we ask for is a W. We don't care who you're playing. You can't choose who you're playing, but when you are playing, What do? They went old school, and they ran that ball unbelievable, and everybody got a piece of the pie, and what I think the coach should probably do, they'll probably add, 3 or 4 more plays to that package to confuse people, because right now at the end there was no confusion at all. You knew what they're going to do, and they still couldn't stop it. And credit the offense, the offense was stronger, in better shape than Pittsburgh, but will they be able to retain that whole thing, doing it again, the next 2 weeks? I don't think that's possible, because, we just lined up and ran straight at them, straight forward. There was no left or right.
Credit the O-line.
Yeah, no, definitely, 100%. But again, though, is it making Syracuse better, playing against softer guys? But we got a W, so let's be happy about it.
The way they were playing, it wasn't looking like they were going to beat anyone the rest of the season. So to have that response, to me, was everything you could ask for, given the situation and how they were able to adapt. Because what they did was a risk.
Yeah.
And it was a big risk. And Baber said it after the game. He's like, if it didn't go well, he's like, I would have been getting ripped apart. And he probably would have been. But it worked. And the big risk came with a big reward with what they were able to do. And I have some stats to back this up here. And I'm starting with this one because it's a great one, because we have this man at the table. Syracuse ran the ball 66 times against Pitt. That is the most they've run the ball since a 2001 win over Boston College, when they also ran it 66 times. James Mungro ran for a career-high 184 yards and 2 touchdowns that game. Do you remember that day?
Not really. To be honest with you, not really. I just remember being up there in Boston, but I couldn't remember no stats or anything like that, all by no means.
Those type of games.
Did we win? That's the most important thing.
You did win, 39-28.
That's the most important thing.
Here's something that I feel like your body probably remembers. Is, I spoke with Dan Villari earlier today. This is Tuesday that we're recording this. And, he had 154 yards. He had 17 carries. And I'm like, I'm guessing that takes a toll on the body. He's like, yeah. When you're a part of a team that's running the ball 66 times, are you feeling that?
Those 3 boys are feeling it. Even the offense, because it was a very powerful game out there, and it was all just about power. It was no finesse. They ran a couple finesse plays. The one finesse plays, Schrader did, fumble the ball. But besides that, it just lined up and went straight forward. And yes, you're going to feel that. And, the 3 guys there in the offensive linemen, well deserving to get some rest, because, it's going to be a short week and you're back up at it again on Saturday. But, that's amazing, 66 times. And, Syracuse, they surprised us. Like I said, I didn't think they were going to win that game going into it, because we didn't know what they were capable of doing. We know what they're capable of doing, but against good teams, we didn't know who the quarterback was going to be. So, with Schrader being out back there, I tell you what was impressive, though. And, God darn it, Schrader, he'll never learn, because he's going to go full speed, 100 miles per hour every single time. They ran a quarterback lead block.
I love those. You can't do them too often.
And he just, it was early in the game, and he went out and he just demolished the linebacker.
Yeah.
And it's like, his shoulder, it's sore. It's probably the rotation of his arm. He can't rotate the arm or throw, But besides that, he's laying his shoulder down, level on linebackers and stuff like that. And he's the quarterback. So I take my hat off to him, because he's a very tough kid, and he's not willing to go down easy. It'll
be interesting to see what capacity we do see of Garrett the rest of the season. Dino kind of made a mention after the, around Boston College, when we first learned that he wasn't playing in that game because he suffered an injury against Virginia Tech, that he was like, it's a wait and see. And so I'm curious if that wait and see is going to be, if that throwing arm is going to be able to do its thing. But I think we learned from that Pitt game that he's just trying to be out there for his dogs.
Yeah.
Which I do really appreciate that. I also recognize the fact that throwing and then running the ball are different motions, but is there any concern at all, if you're a part of that coaching staff, that him running that much and that taking a toll on his body could impact the injury somehow?
Something, yes, but it's the end of the year now.
Screw it.
It's all in. There's no guarantee that they'll make it to a bowl game. So there's 3 games left? 2 games left. It's all in. And I think we saw that, by last week, with them dialing up some different plays in the Wildcat, getting somebody else more, getting Dan involved. And look what he did with the ball in his hands. It's like, so we have another weapon. Unfortunately, the wide receivers now, we got to figure something how to get the ball to the wide receivers to keep them honest, some screen work or something like that. But I don't think he'll be able to throw the ball down the field far. And, the way he played, his shoulder is sore. The rotation may not be sore, but his shoulders are sore, and his neck as well.
And that's the biggest question for this podcast, right? For in our job and in what we're trying to do and figure out this week. What is the most important question for Syracuse football moving forward? And it's how they approach this offense. Because, again, it ties back into the element of surprise. That's gone. Georgia Tech's going to be preparing for this. The big question becomes, are things switched up, or does Dino Babers and Jason Beck say, try to stop it? And I think it's going to be a little bit of both, because you can't have it go full on again.
Yeah.
It's a full load the box, what have you. The question is to get the pass game a little bit more involved and to tweak it up, switch it up, keep surprising them. What is that going to take? Because my gut says it's not going to be Garrett doing those throws. Do I think it's going to be a little bit more of Valari doing the throws? Yes. I think he kind of not alluded to that today, but he said that he had that one overthrow to LeQuinn Allen and, was really bothering him. And then we see what happens when he runs angry. Yeah. He literally bulldozes people. He's like, I make that play 100 out of 100 times in practice. He's like, I messed that up. He's like, I'm going to be ready next time. He's a little bit more involved. Del Rio Wilson, is he going to be ready to go? I don't know. Is it going to be Luke McPhail? Is it going to be Braden Davis? That's for us to try to figure out.
And I think, with the 2 games left, I mean, you're gonna throw in a couple new plays, like I said. But I mean, it's all out. Everything right now, you're just gonna put it on the line because that's what they did pretty much against Pittsburgh. I mean, we lined up and said, "Stop us. We're gonna run the ball straight ahead at you. Stop us." They wore down Pittsburgh, and that's great. That's the credit to Syracuse offense. They finally wore down a team and just totally just blasted them. I mean, the holes are humongous.
Yeah. Big time.
I do. I do think that it is a mix of both. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see certain new things added because, again, you want to hold on to that element of surprise as much as possible. But to Mungro's point, there is a difference between watching the film and knowing what an offense is going to do and then actually being able to stop them.
True.
2 completely different things.
And the formations were different almost every drive, every set, right? And so that to me is like you can say, okay, we're going to try to run the ball. And you look over at Army, right? You look at Navy, and it's like, granted they're not a perennial powerhouse every year, but people know what they're going to do.
Yeah, that's actually good.
And they have a hard time trying to stop it.
And, the biggest surprise is Dan, obviously, Dan. And, when he ran the ball, they did the fake to the left with the quarterback and running back going to the left, and he just ran. I mean, they were focused on because, again, Syracuse has only so many weapons. The quarterback, the running back, and the wide receivers. But if the quarterback can't throw, the wide receivers are not a weapon no more. So those 2 guys right there is like Pittsburgh said, if we stop these 2 guys, we can win the game. And we have another guy, Dan, that came out of the work. He made a name for himself here at Syracuse, and he ran that ball pretty hard.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, how about this stat? As part of that rushing attack, Garrett Schrader, LeQuinn Allen, and Dan Valari all ran for over 100 yards, becoming the first trio to do so since 1997.
97.
Freshman year,
97.
Donovan McNabb, D. Brown, Kyle McIntosh. Yeah. I just can't believe that it was done before. You see that thing and you're like, no, this has to be a first. That's amazing.
They couldn't stop the run. Pittsburgh just could not stop the run, and then we just wore them down, took it in the 4th quarter, and they just, we just bullied them. We bullied them the whole time.
Valari has that aura to him where the fan base is buying in, and it's because what's not to like? He plays hard.
Yes.
He hustles, and he's doing what it takes for his team to win. And to me, that's the recipe to becoming a fan favorite and kind of that cult following, so to speak, that we see over the years in this fan base, in this community. Speaking with him today, he's one of our favorite players to speak with because he's so honest. And Sam's talked about that in the past. And he gave us a tidbit today, Tuesday, that we had not learned before, and that we knew that LeQuinn Allen had some sort of players-only meeting. Same exact mindset. Dude that you can just tell hates losing, will do anything not to have that happen. Found out that Valari actually had a meeting with the offensive line. And he said he felt like there were some guys out there not giving everything. He said, and I quote, "If you love me, you're going to go hard for me. If you love me, you're going to go hard." And that care that they have for him and respect that they have for him, I think who's to say? But I think what we saw from that offensive line was maybe a result because I felt like they gave it everything.
Well, I think every quarterback that plays football needs to say that to the offensive line.
All right, but he's a tight end, so he's a little bit of both, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like I feel like he's kind of one of their own.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, playing tight end, you're part of the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
So he, obviously, like you were saying,
watching tape with them, I'm sure,
yeah, he's
stuff
watching
like
tape
that.
and you're involved with a lot of the stuff because you're part of the line. He played really good. I like that Dino was able to find another weapon.
Right.
But why couldn't we find that weapon earlier? That's one of, as a coach, he's doing it now, but we should have had that weapon, a while ago. The package should have been involved, a while ago when we were losing before, and now we're using it now. Yeah, granted we're using it now, but it's a little too late.
Why take the training wheels off this late is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Take them off early, give the risk early.
You do the risk. I mean, what do you have to lose? I mean, you lost the games anyways, so you might as well try something different. And now they are trying something different, and hopefully, it continues on the same path they're on. And the power of football that can only last for so long because
Right.
the body's going to be sore. So we're going to have to put the ball in air somehow. How, I don't know.
It's going to be interesting.
It is. And I mean, I sort of see that from both sides as far as when was it the right time to start implementing things like this. Because, again, when you say, what do you have to lose, I feel like after, 4 or 5 losses straight, then all of a sudden it really does become a what do you have to lose mentality. But it wasn't like that 3 losses in, when it was 3 losses to 3 pretty good teams. At that point, I still feel like the conversation was more, was that just really great competition? Let's just see what we can do against a team like Boston College or whatnot. I feel like it was after that loss to Boston College that it really became, what do we have to lose? Let's get weird with it. Let's just throw everything at the wall and truly start to see what sticks.
Well, when we played at Clemson and Florida State, all those good teams, like that took a lot out of us. Out of us, and I think now we're just finally rebounding. So it shows how far we off in ACC with other teams, because those losses, those teams are playing back to back and playing good teams every week, and now we're playing not as good as teams, but we're beating up on these teams, but the teams that we played, the tough teams, they wore us down and we couldn't respond back. Like against Boston College, like we were still worn down from the previous games.
Right. And talk about a response, though, or what the defense is able to feed off of when the offense is able to have those drives and take up that time and give them breathers. You get results. You get the interception for the touchdown from Jaden Bellamy. You get the fumbles. Granted, some of them were Pitt's doing. Pitt fans, they're in a tough spot right now. But end of the day,
we were in a tough spot.
But end of the day, so is Syracuse.
Yeah.
And they executed, and they won by 2 touchdowns and outscored them 21-0 in the second half. That's called finishing strong. Brendon, looking ahead to Georgia Tech, Bellamy said when we spoke with him, he's like, it's kind of like a Super Bowl feel because you have 2 5-5 teams. 6 is the magic number for a bowl eligibility.
And one is more desperate than the other right now.
And explain why.
Georgia Tech, there are these things called rivalries, guys.
Yeah, heard of them.
And one of Georgia's biggest rivals happens to be the 2-time defending national champion Georgia Bulldogs. They play them in the final week of the regular season.
Ain't that just fun?
Let's just say, for sake of argument, Georgia Tech loses that game. Mm-hmm. They will have really hoped they have won this upcoming game against Syracuse because they are 5-5. To become bowl eligible, you need to be at least 500. And then there are some cases where a 5-7 team will get in because there aren't enough 500 teams. But you want to be 500.
That's just embarrassing. 5-7 going to a bowl game, they shouldn't have that.
And you don't.
I mean, you have to, I guess, with the math, but that's just like.
I feel bad for the years when the 6-6 team doesn't get in there.
I know, right?
Go to a Division II school and get the championship out of there and get one of those guys.
But then, so here's the thing: Georgia Tech.
Honestly, why not?
I would bet you Georgia Tech is saying we need to win this game. There is no other option. We have to win this game. And Syracuse would have to go in with the mindset of we also have to win this game, even though we know we have another opponent that we are even with, if not better than, coming up in Week 13.
What does Yellow Jacket Nation want us to know, Brendon?
Yellow Jacket Nation wants you to know their offense is one of the best in the ACC. They are, as I turn the page here, 4th in scoring in the conference, 32 points per game, 6th in passing, which is middle of the pack, but you like to have a balanced offense, and when you have almost 200 yards rushing and 250 yards passing per game,
it's pretty good.
You take it. What they also want you to know, though, is that they turn the ball over. And their turnover margin is basically even, but because of that, it really correlates to the fact they're kind of an average team. They're 5-5. Their quarterback, Haynes King, tied for the most interceptions thrown in the nation.
Wow.
With a quarterback at Colorado State. I'm blanking on his name because it's not relevant to Syracuse right now because he's out west and they're never going to play them unless it's in a bowl game. Haynes King also has 30 total touchdowns, though, so he can beat you in the air, he can beat you on the ground, but he's going to throw you a couple, and Syracuse just has to make sure that they corral him and have him. We saw Jaden Bellamy with a pick. We see Justin Barron all over the place every game. I'm surprised that he hasn't had more turnovers than he has already.
I would say the club on his arm probably plays a role.
It does, but like after having that on your arm for a while, like you get used to it, and you see guys make catches, like even with the club. Defensively is where Georgia Tech also struggles, though. Those turnovers put their defense in. It is good for Syracuse. Georgia Tech last in the ACC in stopping the run. I think you guys know where I'm leaning if I have to pick this game this week.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we want you in on it.
Second to last in giving up points and third to last in passing. I wouldn't expect Syracuse to pass the ball in this game. They'll pass it more. I think, they had 8 attempts against Pitt, right?
Something like that, but that was a mix of different people throwing the ball. They might have only had 5.
I don't know. But guys to watch on the defensive side, I'll go with their safety core. They really have 3 guys that'll be on the field most of the time. Jalen King, Clayton Powell-Lee are 2 on the notes. And then I was looking deeper into it on Tuesday afternoon. LaMiles Brooks is actually their other technical starting safety. But they have a third safety in there that'll play in the box, or maybe they just play shell. Those safeties are going to have to run the alley for Georgia Tech to try and stop the run. If they can't and Syracuse can block them all up, I don't know what else you can say. Syracuse should be able to run the ball on Georgia Tech again.
Okay.
Well, I like that because, our strength is their weaknesses and back and forth. So, our defense, as long as the offense go out there and, run the ball efficiently, we'll be good. We'll be all right. Defense will do their stuff. They've been doing their stuff all year. It's just the offense, really, honestly.
I like to imagine that Dino, Jason Beck, whoever truly had a hand in coming up with that game plan, and like we mentioned, they threw it all out there.
Yeah.
They said we're going to try anything, we don't care, and we're going to see if it works. Do you think that type of confidence that game created for them, do you think that game has an impact on the coaches more than we realize because they're feeling a little bit more free with what they can do?
I think the coaches are happy with the game plan, but to withstand that and continue with that, that's gonna be something hard,
right?
And knowing that your quarterback has a injury with his shoulder, we could run the ball and suck them up, get the safeties all down, bring them all the way down to the box because they know we're going to run the ball and then throw over top of them. But again, we have to be able to throw the ball over top of them.
So you need to have somewhat of a threat.
Yeah, you got to have somewhat of a threat. And and I think we have the skill set to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have the skill set to actually throw the ball? That's going to be. So I think they're going to be practicing that a lot this past week. This week coming up.
Game
I like
picks.
the idea. I was going to say it's about time for that because I know hope is not a strategy, but I'm feeling, dare I say, a little hopeful right now.
Okay.
Especially after it's Brendon's stat about their defense that is making me feel like, okay, if they have a hard time stopping the run, then this could be an interesting matchup. This could maybe work. I agree with what you've been saying. I think you have to implement some kind of a passing game, something like just to keep the other team honest, whoever the opponent is. That's it. Like enough that it keeps you on your toes. What are we doing? How are we setting up here? I feel like if it's just run, at some point, I do think they'll stop the run. So very interested to see what new things they come out with. But I feel I'm ready for picks at this point in time.
Okay. You want to fire away?
Yeah.
Let's go.
I do feel like Syracuse showed me enough that I'm ready to bet on them again this week. I'm really interested to see what they're going to come out with offensively. I think that if Georgia Tech has a hard time stopping the run, they're not doing well stopping the run against ACC opponents, and Syracuse runs the ball a lot, that is a recipe for potential success. I'm going to go Does anybody know what the spread is on this game?
6.5. Brendon has 6.5 in
Oof.
Georgia Tech's favor.
Really?
Yes.
That I will say that line is most likely Georgia Tech is playing at home. They've also gone 4-3 in the ACC. They've had a little more success in conference than Syracuse has this season.
All right. Despite that, I feel like I may end up regretting this, but I'm just going to do it anyway. I'm still going to go with a 30-21
Wow. Okay.
game,
30-21.
which I know it seems like a lot of points being put up there, but I am going to go with that anyway. I'm going to go Syracuse winning this game 30-21.
Okay. James Mungro.
You said 30-21. You said.
Yes, 30-21.
I say. I think honestly, Syracuse scored some points. They're going to run the ball, so I think they're going to be able to score. I think Georgia Tech will be able to score too as well. So I think it's going to be a little bit close. I like your score, but I think it's going to be closer, more like 30-28.
30-28. Who wins?
Syracuse.
Syracuse wins. Brendon, are you ready?
Yeah, man, I'm ready. I'm taking Syracuse to win, too. I'm going to say it's going to be a bit lower scoring, though, just because we've seen some explosive run plays, but for the most part, it's 3-4 yards a pop. We wouldn't get the explosives till later in the game, like the Valari run.
Right.
There were big ones towards the end of the game that really broke it open. I'll say it's more of a 20-17 Syracuse win. I just think they're going to grind out the clock and not give Georgia Tech enough time. I do think turnovers play a big part in this game.
Yes.
If Syracuse can get a couple early ones and get the lead, they won't have to score as much because they're already running the ball as well as they are.
Well, for me, at this point, because I needed to hear you, Hodges, there, I'm looking out for the SU fan base. I'm looking out for the community here because everyone knows when you're watching the panel before a game and everyone comes up with the same logo, that's considered the ultimate jinx for your team. If every single person on the panel, all the analysts are picking your team, I'm going Georgia Tech here, 24-21.
How's that good for the Syracuse fans?
Because
I know what you mean.
I'm going against them. Because
I got
when
you.
it's
Okay,
a clean slate, it's
okay.
kind of the kiss of death, and we've done it to them.
Samantha.
Keep in mind, this is the same guy who also he changed his score the day after the podcast from 12-10 to 15-10 and lost against the spread.
We don't.
I know
this
is unique. I'm actually happy that you're picking this because I feel like most of the time, us three at this table are picking the same. Who at least who we think is going to win.
Right.
So this is an opportunity for one of us to kind of get ahead here.
Right, exactly.
Our picks.
A little bit of
You don't need to worry
separation.
about getting
Good luck,
ahead.
sir.
Sam is
Honestly,
already way ahead.
I changed my pick, Brendon, because I truly forgot what I said. When I said in my pick, I was like, did I say 15 or did I say 12? I was like, I think I said 15. So that's the only reason I did that. But I'm going Tech here, 24-21. I think Syracuse gets to a bowl game. I think they get to 6-6. I don't think it happens this weekend against Georgia Tech. I think it happens against Wake Forest. Even though Tech has not done well with the run, I've seen it in the past with some of these teams where I'm looking over at the calendar right now, and I remember whether it be Florida State or whoever had those weaknesses in their defense and whatnot, and Syracuse just wasn't able to exploit that. So I think we'll see some encouragement. I hope I'm wrong. But I think the win's happening against Wake Forest.
But let me also say this really quick. To be eligible, 6-6.
Right.
There's no guarantee that the bowl committee is going to pick you as well.
Very true. Very true. That is the magic number 6 for bowl eligibility. There we go. Game picks, we'll find out. Against the spread overall, I'm 8-2, 3-6 against the spread. Wolf. Sam 7-2, 6-2 against the spread. She's on fire. Ashley 7-2, 4-4. James 5-3, 3-4. Moten 1-0, 1-0. So basically, I'm in last, and we're working on that. Producer Brendon's trivia. Let's get it.
Yeah, we're gonna go back to Dan Valari, guys. Everyone's
Let's
favorite
go.
son, James Mungro's new favorite Syracuse football player. After his 154-yard rushing performance against Pitt, Valari now ranks 145th on Syracuse's all-time rushing list. Congratulations, Dan. Where does he rank among tight ends on that list?
For rushing?
Yes.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Evil Brendon's out to play.
Wow.
I have my answer.
Now, when you're saying For a single game, you're saying, where is he?
No, it's not single game. This is all-time rushing list. So after his game on Saturday, he ranks 145th all-time in rushing in Syracuse program history. Among tight ends, what does he rank on that same list?
You think?
154 for a tight end is absurd.
I know.
No, we had a couple tight ends. I think that
I don't know.
That ran the ball?
that
I
ran
don't
the ball
know.
more than that. I mean,
I'm going to go third.
Third. Okay.
Mungro, do you have an answer?
yeah, 12. Go with 12.
Dan Valori is not first. He's not third.
Oh.
He is second.
Oh.
Behind
Fucking difference.
and I will
Behind who? Joe Donnelly?
no, Brian Pachucci.
What year?
He was there 90 to 93. Technicality here. Pachucci only played tight end his last year at Syracuse, but he was still a tight end.
What was he, running back before that?
He was a fullback. So
this is.
Here's the thing,
I
though.
feel like you needed a big asterisk in this question.
big ass.
Here's the thing. Okay,
Come
first
on,
of all,
bro.
he's only 67 yards behind him. So if they run the ball like they did last week, he's going to pass him, be the first all time. He is also only 2,712 yards behind the man sitting at the table, James Mungro. James,
All
he
right.
is coming for your spot at the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, okay.
2000. James didn't even entertain that. He's just like, no.
James likes him so much, I figured I had to say it.
A big story in Central New York this week, and it ties into more of a human question and a human/moral part of sports. And if you're not caught up, make sure you're checking our website, cnycentral.com, to get into the mix with this. And that is Cicero North Syracuse, local high school, biggest high school, suburban high school in Central New York. The head coach and starting quarterback were not at the Section 3 Class AA championship game over the weekend at the Dome. The quarterback was suspended from school, so he didn't play. The coach was upset with that decision, and decided to resign before playing the game. So it was other assistant coaches that coached the game. CNS went and lost to CBA by a few scores. They lost to them in the regular season, so who's to say if it would play an impact? Sam has been covering this pretty closely. Sam, what do you have on this? Anything else that I'm missing that is important context before I open it up?
I thought you did a really good job explaining the situation, actually. But again, like you said, whether or not this matters, I'm not sure. But I do think that it is important to note that CNS, first of all, really, really great football team. Only loss of the season was that loss to CBA, however many weeks ago. So whether or not it would have made a difference as far as the game being won or lost, we're not sure. But the bigger question is, what do people think about the fact that this decision was made by the head coach to step away? Other important context is he did say, because we had a sit-down interview yesterday right here on James Street, and he said that there was a 95% chance that he was going to resign at the end of this season no matter what. But it was this decision that the school made to suspend the quarterback that turned that 95% into 100. So with that being said, the things that we touched on, basically, as far as if you want to know why he did it, again, that interview is on our YouTube page, not the Orange Zone, but on CNY Central. But he said that he felt like the district didn't fully investigate. He felt like the decision was made too quickly in between the time that the incident happened that caused the suspension and the time that they actually made the decision to suspend the quarterback. And he thinks that instead of looking at a handbook to determine what is going to happen with someone's fate, he thinks that you need to consider the families, that they should have been involved in the discussion. He thinks that mental health should have been looked at and what it would have meant for the quarterback moving forward. And because of that, and because of what he says are his values, he felt that he had to leave. And he says that the entire team, or the majority of the team, players and coaches, supported him.
What do you think about his decision to leave and not coach the rest of the team?
That is terrible. It's 100% terrible. I'm not going to change my mind on that. It's a team sport. It's a team sport, and the coach, I think, just let his emotions get the best of him at that time. because the quarterback is just one player. What about the other guys on the team that worked their butts off the whole year and believed in the coach? And all coaches got to realize they're mentors. The mentors and the young men trust the coaches at that level, and they believe in the coaches. So for that coach to be upset, it's kind of like you're at the playground and you're playing basketball and you keep getting beat, so you take your ball and go home. That's what it kind of reminds me of. But the coach initially just turned his back on his players. Even though the players may say they're supporting him, I think that's BS. The coaches, I know the players got to be upset with that. I know I would be upset with it.
How about James Mungro, the dad?
I would definitely be upset as a parent. I would be upset. Like, why would you turn your back? What about so you're saying my son or these other players not good enough for you to coach their last game and a big game? It's a championship game and you're not going to be there because you're upset about the quarterback. Well, it's terrible having the quarterback, but there's other kids on the team too as well.
And my other question for you is, just because I think this helps to add context, not that little Mungro would ever get in trouble in any kind of way. I feel like little Mungro is very straight and narrow. He's a good kid. He's a good student. But if it was your son who was the one that got suspended, then how would you feel? The same way?
Well, if it was my son who got suspended, I wouldn't want I would deal with that within my family. To talk about what happened and what's going on, and how to get my son help for whatever he did or whatever he didn't do. But I still couldn't turn my back on my players. I just couldn't do that. I couldn't turn my back on my players. And, okay, I'm the head coach, and my son is on my team, and he gets suspended. So that means I quit? No. I can't. I signed up for this, and I'm going to give it all I got until the end of the season, then make a decision. So I think it's totally wrong what the coach did to the other players and to the parents and to the district. He's the coach. The district has rules. If someone broke the rules, unfortunately, you have to pay the price. That's in anything in life. Anything in life. If you get a speeding ticket, you're driving too fast, you get a ticket. You go to the manual, you go to the manual and you see the adjustable rates.
Right.
You have to pay out on insurance or whatever, and that's what you have to pay. You can't just rip it up and throw it away. You won't be able to drive it anymore. So, hopefully it's a lesson the kid learned. It's a tough lesson to learn. And obviously, if the kid's a senior, I don't know what year the kid is, but
Senior, I believe, right?
It's tough, but it's part of life,
Mm-hmm.
and you just can't. As a coach, I wish you would have made a better decision on that.
Appreciate you sharing your thoughts. Thank you. All right, everyone. Final thoughts?
Let's get another W, Syracuse. Let's get on a,
keep it moving.
Let's get another W, Bills.
It'll be a heck of a way to go out if they were able to just get
If Tommy took one for the team in this podcast, I'm going to be very upset.
I took one for the team. I hope so. I hope I did take one for
I
the
hope you
team.
take one for the team, Tommy.
Yeah, see?
I
Look
hope
at
you
that.
do.
Team effort here. The Orange Zone Podcast, Billy Whitaker, Croston Trucks. Thank you, Billy. Thank you, everyone, for watching, listening, like, comment, subscribe. Peace. We're out of here.
See ya.